Hi everyone, we will wait for another 1 or 2 minutes so that other students can also join. Be patient till then. So I guess we are good to start. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's session. A quick introduction so that we don't waste a lot of time. My name is Priyanka. I'm manager in admission and outreach at Rishihood University. Rishihood is India's first and only impact university, and we are trying to ensure that our students, whether they're from School of Creativity, where they pursue courses in design, or School of Entrepreneurship, Psychology, any of these particular field, they become leaders who can create an impact with their own particular field. I think one thing is common that everyone is out here as a design aspirant. Guys, I really want this session to be interactive session. So you guys can turn on your camera so that we can, see your beautiful faces and we can interact with you as well. Yes, you can on your cameras and put off your mics until and unless कि कुछ आपको बात करनी है जब भी हम questions पूछ रहे हैं. So I have been told that a lot of you are looking to in the design field or design world. You be confused, some of you will be confused what to do next. Maybe some of you will be having more clarity like what you want to do next, right? So for me, like design is actually a problem solving, and any kind of background that equips you to break down problems, means how it needs to be solved, and whatever way you actually use to solve those problems is design. So design education helps you think, it's help you break down the problems. So today we gather to discuss the fascinating world of design careers. Design is an essential element of our modern society, as it, everything from fashion to graphic design to industrial design and more. So if you have a creative mind and if this kind of problem solving aptitude in you, then a career in design may be a perfect path for you. So design is a constantly evolving field, and the opportunities for growth and innovation are endless. So yes, we have Assistant Professor Vaibhav Sharma with us today. He's with us in the School of Creativity at Rishi Hood University. So he will take you through the topic of on creativity is employability. So this has to be interactive session. So more questions you have, the more you guys can take benefits from this entire session. And yes, without wasting anyone else's time, I will ask Professor Vaibhav to start this session. Post his presentation or session, we will take some question and answer round. Like there will be, you can ask some of the questions, some of your doubts regarding the design career field, specialization courses, a lot of things. Okay, and in between also, if you have any doubt, you can definitely put in the chat box and we can accordingly take it off. So over to you, Professor Vaibhav.
Thanks, Priyanka. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Very good evening to all of you. And can we please switch on the cameras? I think it's a little better when we see the faces. Okay, so I'm Professor Vaibhav Sharma, and I am basically from a fine arts background, and I've been teaching into design from last 7 years. And I think there's a huge shift that I've seen in the last 7 years from fine arts to design also. And moreover, I won't say that it's a kind of a very good thing. It's okay. It's good to see so many people interested in something like a very intellectual or a kind of a career where creativity is employed. So that's very good to hear. But at the same time, I think before we start the session, what I'm trying to, how the way I've planned is that it should, I think by the end of it, it should give you a little clear idea of what the different courses are about and what is the basic difference between design and fine arts, and where do you think that you can place yourself in the future. But before we start the actual session, I think there are some, I'm going to start the session, but there are some preliminary things that you need to focus on. For example, that I'll just start the session. I think I'll just start the presentation and then we can continue. Priyanka, I need to share the screen, and I just got a message that host disabled.
Okay, I'll do that. Now you are the co-host, so you can share the screen.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Okay, so creativity is employability, and just a sec. I'm minimizing it because I have to see some options here. So please make sure that if I'm not able to see all of you, just keep on asking the questions. Yeah, I'll just start the slideshow now. Sorry. It was okay. So normally I start the session by a very famous quote by Steve Jobs, who is always considered as one of the most complete designers of our times. And the reason that I think I always start with him is, I think the depth to which he always went when he created anything, or when he provided any kind of an experience or creating a product that is used by mass, the amount of research that went into it, and the kind of complete design that we always talk about, that his designs or the Apple designs, whatever they produced, they are very much complete in the sense that they are not just visually very attractive. And that Apple is particularly also one of those companies which has started this culture of creating sustainable design. Like they were the first one who actually started thinking about the planet also. So it's not about, see, the sustainability and other things, the global warming and all these things, these are not something which are part of a trend or something. These are something which are to be taken very seriously now. So earlier, like the designers of the earlier times, they do not have to face the kind of problems that what kind of questions they have to go through. Like while creating the work, normally they used to solve a problem while whenever they created a product. So they kind of solve the problem. But I think today's generation, and during the today's times, the main problems faced by the designers is that they need to also focus on how to think about the end product of the life, end product. So for the life of the end product, like when a product ends, whatever they have created, when the product ends, what is going to be the life after its use is over. So how they're going to discard it? Because if you see in the northern zone, in the Delhi zone, I am sure that few of you may be definitely from Delhi also, and in your metropolitan cities also from, I mean, in the different metropolitan cities also, you must have seen that there are these huge garbage piles which can be seen in the cities. So this is something which was not visible like a couple of decades earlier. Whatever they produce, whatever designers used to produce, that was consumed, but nobody actually thought of that whatever they are producing, how is it going to end up finally. So now we have just seen that because of the major, when this question was not approached earlier, this has caused such a major problem today, that today we have so much ample amount of design which is being wasted, or the products which are being wasted, they cannot be recycled again, and there is no place where they can be recycled. So there are some important terms that you need to consider or need to remember if you want to really make your career into this field in a longer run. Secondly, when we start, I'll just start thinking about these things also, but I'll just keep on talking about these things. But when we start, like normally I ask everybody that what is creativity? Some quick responses will be welcome. Just very quick responses. What do you think is creativity? And sorry, I can't see the screen, so just you can just switch on your mic and respond. And please do not be very much formal. Let's make it a little interactive session where interactions are quite encouraged. So please, whatever comes to your mind when you hear this word creativity, just try to explain it.
Showcasing your thoughts in quite a beautiful form.
Okay. Quite a beautiful form. Okay. Yeah. Anybody else? What is creativity? I mean, so many students, everybody is interested in making a creative career. If you have to define like one bottom line for the creativity, what it would be?
We can say that it is the ability to produce new things using your own skill and your own imagination power.
Yeah, right. Quite a certain level. Okay, just a couple of more answers because we don't have much time. So anybody would like to say anything, add to it? Okay, so I would, again, just because there is lack of time, so I would always say that first of all, participate freely, so that your concepts are clear once you participate. Creativity is, the bottom line of creativity is the ability to think in a different manner, in an unconventional manner. It's not that creativity has to be beautiful always. It should be beautiful, because whenever we talk about creativity, normally we talk about it in the context of some beautiful paintings or sculpture, but creativity is something which can actually be more applicable in finding the solutions. That's why it's design is more what when we started the session, I think what Priyanka ma'am also mentioned you about, design is about problem solving. So creativity is actually something where you have to find the solution also and think differently. So if you think about the root word for creativity, it is the ability to think differently or look at a problem in a different manner. So if you think that normally when you sketch or normally when you draw something or normally when you think about a problem or any kind of a situation, your approach is little different from what is used to be taught or what you have always seen, then definitely you should consider yourself as a creative person. And it's very important to understand few things that um, the times that we are living in, it's not something that creativity has just been encouraged right now. It has been always there. We all know that. But it's also important, something which is parallel to this thing, creativity, which is important, is the times that we are living in. Because I think it's very important to understand that there was a time, or there is in India, there is still the time is continuing that the design education is not very much flourished. So normally parents and students, they do not have a very good access to what happens in the design education. So maybe because in the secondary education system, the design is not given as a specialization in 11th and 12th. Maybe in some schools, so they do touch upon them, but I think normally we do have drawing thing also, and I think drawing is also continued till 10th standard only. But there are few schools who are continuing it in 11th and 12th also. So it's very important to understand that what times are we living in, and if you want to create a career specifically in design, then you need to be have a little bit knowledge about, educate yourself about the designs which are kind of hallmark of today's age. For example, if you would have asked me about the best examples of some creative design, maybe of 1950s and 60s, it would be definitely different from what is happening today, or even from 1990s to the 2020s. It has been a huge leap, huge leap. So when we talk about creativity, uh, and especially the present times, there is something called design thinking which comes in. Does anybody like heard about this term called design thinking? Just guys, just give a quick response, because I think it's important to participate, and I'm not giving a very formal presentation on it. The whole idea is to make you a clear picture of, like, give the best picture of what could be the context of design, or what the area that you are interested in making your career. So when we say design thinking, did anybody heard about it? Like, what is design thinking? Okay, so it's like design thinking is actually a very structural way of thinking. Like, it's not about, normally when I say that creativity is thinking differently, but thinking differently can also lead to experimental nature. It can lead to a nature like hit and trial method, but that is not sustainable, or that is not something which always works. And the idea is that creativity would still be there, but it's very important to understand that in design thinking, design thinking is a method where you create the things, but you have a sense of understanding towards the user's end, like who are users, who are the real users of a product. You go and talk to them, you understand that what is the problem they are going through, and then you kind of design the product according to them. So it's a very structural way of thinking, where a strategical way of thinking, where design or the outcomes or the problem solving does not result by hit and trial method or by only experimental method. They could be part of it, but when you strategize them, when you put them in a strategy, then the chances of it making a successful design, it increases in amples amount of time also, and saving on energy also, and money also. So design thinking is basically the essential ability to combine empathy, creativity, and rationality to meet users and drive business success. And I'll give you a few examples that will definitely clear you about what is design thinking. And the first image that I showed you, this is actually in the context of the same thing, that you are looking at a problem here right now. It's a jam kind of thing that regularly happens in Delhi. We know that there are traffic lights also. We can see the zebra crossing also, but still we see these kind of regular things which are happening in the cities. So the idea of design thinking is somewhere when you have empathy for the problems for the users, then you apply creativity for the generation of insights and solutions to it, and rationality, that is the logic part of it, is to analyze and fit solutions according to the context. Just a very quick glance as what design thinking is. In design thinking, normally what happens that you first talk to the persons, and the very first step that is written here, empathize. Empathize means you are putting yourself in the other's shoes. For example, suppose if you see there is a problem faced by maybe somebody who is just coming to a maid of your house, or maybe somebody who is just taking care of your house, and maybe they are facing a problem that they are not able to say. So identifying the problem actually begins from talking to them in a very friendly manner and asking them what is the problem area that they are facing. And that's how you have to just kind of feel that what the victim or sufferer is going through, what is the problem area. Then you have to define the problem. The designers of the earlier times, they never used to think about, okay, you have to go to the user and then design something. They used to just look at the research gap and the market gap, and that's how they just kind of made their product on the basis of that only. But today it's very important to go to actual users and ask them that what kind of things they are suffering, and based on that experience, you create and define the problem. And then after defining the problem, you ideate on them. Ideate means trying to find the solution of them through many steps. Like I'll just go to the next slide. Like in the first stage, empathy one, you generally observe and listen to the people who are having the problems. In defining, you define the problem very clearly. Then you ideate, means you go for many solutions. You ask to many people in the group normally that what could be the possible solution, and wild ideas are also welcomed in this. So based on the kind of a statistics and looking at what maximum people can agree with, then you create a prototype. Prototype is what? It's a sample of the solution that you want to create. So it's like a sample, working sample of it. And then they test it by putting it in the market or for some time, or putting it in a situation where users are going to come and use it. So it's a cyclic process which keeps on going again and again. It's not a linear process, and it's a kind of a basic demand of today's time, that you have to empathize with the people. That's how you have to create design. It's not for business only. So it's something which actually starts from users, and when I say that you don't have to you have to go to the main users, it doesn't mean that you do not have to think about the business. From business end also, it has to be beneficial for the person who is putting their money in and the energies in. So it's basically something which is good for all. That's why it has become a kind of a hallmark of this age. The second most important thing which has really affected today's world is artificial intelligence. I'm pretty sure that most of you are quite familiar with this term, and I think their input in design has been surprisingly so much that many things are becoming very much easier for a designer to do. Like they have supplemented it so wonderfully. Some of the examples of, or basically when we start artificial intelligence, does anybody have a little idea what is artificial intelligence? The whole idea of this session is also to clear your fundamental concepts. So please participate in it. What do you think is artificial intelligence? Just in quick responses, can I get few quick responses?
Hey host.
Yeah, please repeat. Okay, somebody was saying something. What is artificial intelligence? Can I get any response? Guys, please participate. Whatever do you think that artificial intelligence is, just try to define. Okay, artificial intelligence is, it's in the bigger picture, if you look at it, it's like machines which are thinking like humans. It's a very basic of it. Like today, like these could be for learning, problem solving, planning, reasoning, and all those. But today, if you think that so many smart objects, smart watches, smart phones, all these things, what are they doing? They are actually thinking like humans. They are actually coded in a way that they start identifying the patterns also, and start reasoning also, start planning also, and doing observation and kind of helping it. It's kind of an artificial mind. That's why we call it artificial intelligence. So in the most simple words, they are kind of machine learning concept. It is almost similar to that also, artificial intelligence. And how they, like the basic types of artificial intelligence that you see today is, it is broadly divided into three categories. One is artificial narrow intelligence, then comes artificial general, and then comes artificial super intelligence. So artificial narrow intelligence, it's what is locally seen in the market. The basic characteristics of these could be seen. Why I'm telling about these? Because these are the designs which are actually the trademarks of this age. So just focus on these kind of examples. Artificial narrow intelligence, they have this characteristic that they are known as weak AI, weak artificial intelligence system. They are designed and trained for a specific type of task. And they are inferior to human intelligence, obviously, because I'll tell you that why it has been deliberately done. Classify things on the basis of already programmed responses. Then they cannot solve problems, unfamiliar problems. They lack artificial consciousness or cognitive abilities. Cognitive means the ability to think and take decisions, or ability to connect the dots and then use it for your own use. For example, if you understand the concepts of mathematics or science, then in the exam, when the paper comes, you apply your cognitive abilities to solve those questions. Like you connect the dots and then apply those things. So these all things are part of the characteristics of artificial narrow intelligence. And few quick examples are Amazon Alexa, your Siri, or your Cortana. All these things, when you see them, when you give a command to them, they can respond to it. But that response is still considered in the weak AI systems. So you must have been watching all these things. The smart watches also are a part of it, all of them, or the Fitbit watches, they are also part of the smart design. But the thing is that somewhere, like we have started going into the direction, but I think that stage of AI, which becomes like a kind of the most higher state, it is yet to come, and it's not so so much welcomed also by many people in the today's age. But you need to just get a little idea of what these things are all about. Then comes artificial general intelligence, which was the second part. General means it is relatively stronger than the narrow intelligence. And it's not the strongest, but it is stronger than the narrow intelligence, artificial narrow intelligence. It is somewhat similar to the human intelligence also. It has human-like consciousness and cognitive abilities. It has started to become a reality, but not so much that you can like see many examples of it. It can solve unfamiliar problems also. One of the examples is the self-driven cars, which are still a kind of a project to many, but there are some examples and prototypes which have been started now. And I'm sure that many of you have already seen a lot of documentaries on it also on National Geographic and all. So they have started happening, and these are the things when the automatic cars will take their own decisions. The last one is artificial super intelligence. Artificial super intelligence is something which is considered the highest intelligence, of the highest kind of artificial intelligence, where even the best of the human brains, like even the Einsteins and all those brains which we consider the most smartest ever born, even the artificial super intelligence will be a kind of a thing which will be giving solutions at a much larger intensity than the smartest of the smartest of human brains. So this is like quite a last stage of artificial super intelligence, where they say that it could also become a problem for humans. And definitely after artificial intelligence, I don't know how many of you have heard about ChatGPT or this metaverse and other softwares which are just coming now. DALI also. Anybody heard about these? ChatGPT, DALI, and I'm sure that you must have.
Yes.
Yeah. So a lot. Yeah.
I said many of the countries are banning these applications like Chat.
Yeah, they are banning it also because yeah, they are banning them also, but I don't think so that we are like now in a condition that maybe like they can ban it for a very long time, because the kind of instant revolution that they have brought in, I think they have kind of reduced a lot of work. That is good, but the kind of jobs that they have eaten, that is also quite a become quite of a challenge for many industries. And but there are some good news. That's why I just made it like this. Like even Zuckerberg, he always says that if you recognize the self-driving cars are going to prevent car accidents, AI will be responsible for reducing that. So I think there are perspectives on it. Elon Musk is quite against of it. Zuckerberg is always in kind of very much favor of it. Then I have a small excerpt from a footage by Michio Kaku. He's a very famous theoretical physicist, and one of his lectures he talked about the future jobs. So people who should not be worried about it. The jobs of the future will be what robots can't do. Second, what he said was that pattern recognition and common sense are big problems for AI, and robots, they don't understand the simplest things about human behavior. That is like good news for us, as for now at least. Robots don't know that water is wet or that strings can pull, but not push. So two jobs that will thrive in the future, they are regarding the blue collar workers, then repetitive jobs, like for example, the jobs which are kind of mechanical, they will definitely be wiped out. They are not going to be like automobile and textile industry, they are going to be in danger. And non-repetitive jobs will thrive. Garbage men, sanitation workers, gardeners, police, construction workers. These jobs will not thrive, but they will survive. The jobs which will actually become like totally safe, or which are going to be popular in the next stage, would be definitely about intellectual capitalism. Like if you see the last line, workers who engage in intellectual capitalism. Sorry, I'm going a little fast because I think it's important to tell you about the main things only. So intellectual capitalism, they basically involves common sense, but also like creativity, imagination, wherever you have to think in a different manner, you have to break the patterns. That time, it's very important to indulge in a kind of a job where you again and again have to think about the new things. You have again and again have to think about constantly you have to think about the innovation. Those kind of jobs are something which are going to be the main thing for the future, because robots, they are always programmed. They are programmed for a particular situation. They are programmed according to a particular pattern of a problem. So they are still working on identifying the maximum problems, but they are still not able to give the answer, which has to be a bit more specific. I don't know how many of you actually use the ChatGPT also. It walks on a particular trend that it starts with like whatever question you ask, it will tell you the very introduction of it, then it will give you a pros and cons of it. But at the end, if you want to have an opinion about it, normally you'll see that the ChatGPT answers are very diplomatic in nature. There will be something which will talk about pros and cons and would end up also in the same manner, which is not bad. But I think it's important to sometimes to add that human element into it, which is definitely missing in ChatGPT also, and your personal element or the human element that is normally missing into it. So these are some of the statistics and some of the excerpts taken from the recent things that even in this was told by John Mathers, he's a director in the UK Design Council, and he also mentioned this, that the high growth year on year proves year-on-year proves once and for all that the creative industries are outperforming the UK economy as a whole. So even in the UK, I think, which is known as the creative hub, they have also made it quite clear that intellectual or the design related or the creative related industries, they are going to be the exceptional industries which are going to flourish in the future. So if you are thinking to come into this career, yes, it is going to be very safe for you. That is a good option. That is a good news. And hopefully these are not the things which are going to be eaten up by like AI so soon, at least, I guess. Okay, so now coming to the specializations that normally that you will see in today's age when you go for something like BDES program, Bachelor of Design, especially here in Rishiud University, we have a kind of a program which is a kind of designed in a way that it's one of its own kind. Like when I'm talking about BDES, but actually in School of Creativity, we have offered a program, the foundation year, the first year. I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but normally when you are willing to do BVA, that is Bachelor of Visual Arts, or BFA, Bachelor of Fine Arts, or BDES, Bachelor of Design, all of them have a basic common thing, that is the students are inclined to sketching, and the students are inclined to do something using hand sketching part, or they are willing to do something related to the visual part of it. So the foundation course that we offer, it is something which has a liberty to choose from any of them, from BVA also, Bachelor of Visual Arts, and from BDES also. So normally you don't see any school which is offering both of them under one umbrella. So that is the exclusivity of Ratioed School of Creativity of Ratioed University, that we offer a program where the foundation year, the very first year, BDES or BVA, they both are for 4 years, but the very first year you have the liberty of choosing from any of them. And I would always suggest you one very honest thing. If you are interested in just drawing, if you are interested in just the visual part of it also, then also I would say highly recommend you that do not take, and if you have exceptionally good skill, do not just kind of move away from visual arts, because that is also equally important field. And today I think I have seen like in last 6-7 years, I have seen there is a huge shift of the students who are interested in visual arts. They went to actually design, which is absolutely a good decision. It's not a bad decision. But I would also say that BVA in itself is not as much of a kind of a course which is now getting totally shifted by BDES. BVA has its own importance also. If you are interested in visual arts, if you talk about the people who are contemporary visual artists, they are also very, very successful these days. They are not somebody like, if I definitely, I know that if I ask you that how many times do you visit the art gallery, or how many of your parents visit art gallery, I know that many of you may not have been to the art gallery, or many of your parents do not visit it regularly. But the thing is that if you talk about the artist of the maybe 1950s, 60s, or even 70s, 80s, that time when the internet was not there, they still had to go through a very, very long process of becoming an established artist. So it took a very long time. But at today's time, I think it's not the same condition. Because of the internet, you get to see lots and lots of opportunity throughout the world. And once your portfolio is good, once your skills are in the place, once you are very much clear about what skills you have got, no matter whether you are in BDES or BVA, definitely the utilitarian part is something else in BDES. But if you are somebody who is very much active at expressing yourself and doing the things differently, then I think it's very important to just focus on your skills first. And foundation year is actually the year for it. So the whole flow goes like something like this, that the very foundation year, it gives you an introduction of all the specializations that we offer. Like in BDES, we have interior architecture, then we have fashion and textiles also, then we have product design, and there is communication design. Communication design is something similar to, or maybe an extended version of your graphic design or the visual communication. So these 4 basic specializations are there. In BVA, we do have sculpture and ceramics. These 2 are there. And in interior architecture, I'll just give you a brief of it. Many of you might be having a problem that what is interior architecture. Many of you may not have heard about interior architecture. They must have heard about interior design as compared to architecture. But there is a slight difference why we have offered interior architecture and not interior design, because normally the courses of interior architecture and interior design are 60% same. Only 40% is different. 40% what is different is in interior design, it is much more focused on whatever you see, wherever you are sitting right now, whatever you see in the interiors, that is part of the interior design. But in interior architecture, you are also given a slight knowledge about the structural changes at a home or at a space. By saying that, I mean that, for example, you must have, if you have been to mountains or kind of some old cities of India, there is this culture which has started, that they have started renovating the old architectures like Havelis, and they have started converting them into a kind of like 5-star hotels and all. So when you have to renovate an old building, that time you need to have a little bit knowledge of the structure also. Like you cannot remove any beam from anywhere or any pillar from anywhere. That time you need to have a little knowledge about interior architecture. So the 40% of course that differentiates from interior design is, of course, interior design is also taught into it, but it's also focusing, the 40% is also focusing on making the structural changes. So in case if you have little bit knowledge of interior architecture, you can also take decisions on the basis of some changes, that if you want to remove a wall, or if you want to remove a pillar, or if you want to add something into an old construction, you can do that also. You can make the structural changes also. And also interior architecture gives you a little bit more clear picture of Like if you have to do something on a mega scale, like if you're working for interiors of a mall, shopping mall, or maybe a huge corporate building. So that time when you have to think about the electricity lines, the water pipelines, all those things, these are also told in much detail in interior architecture. So that's why we have included that. Uh, the career prospects of interior architecture, they are interior designer also. Then there are building services. I told you about, like the electric things. If you are like, you can also collaborate with an interior designer, or if you are yourself doing it, then building services means electricity, water pipelines, all those services. Exhibition designer or retail space designer. These are something like, if you must have been to Pragati Maidan or the exhibition space in Delhi, if you have ever been to there, if you see the kind of exhibition design, the kind of booths that they have prepared, they are all designed by an IA person, interior architecture person. Interior designers also do that, but interior architect they give a bit more detailed knowledge of the structural thing, that how sturdy it can be, how functional and solid it can be. Then there is set designing. Set designing in movies also happen on a temporary basis. In movies, they create temporary sets in the background. So that can also be done by interior architecture people. Then there is furniture design. Then co-working spaces. Co-working spaces, anybody has an idea what is co-working spaces? They have just started kind of mushrooming in the last 5 years. Or anybody heard about Zostals? What are Zostals?
I think two groups or two companies work under the same roof.
Yeah, it's not two companies. It's like 5 or 6 or sometimes 7 people of different companies. What happens in co-working spaces are, they are huge spaces designed in a manner that you are given few tables and few, like if you are the boss, you are given a chair, and maybe you can given a particular space, a small space where clients are going to come, and different kind of industries would be sitting under one roof, or different kind of designers or different kind of jobs are provided under one roof. And there will be like not separate walls of it, but there will be separate spaces for it, and some small, and they have to pay, the users have to pay. For example, if you are an interior designer and you are sitting in this co-working space, so you might have to pay just 5,000 rupees per month, because you are not actually hiring the entire room. You are just paying for that table and chair and the space that you have got. The good part is, sometimes what happens, it's like almost internet. Like when you go on the internet, maybe you tend to search for something, and if you see if in the YouTube ads, maybe you see something, or maybe in the Google ads you see something, and then you click on it, and then you go to that page, then from there you go on somewhere else. So that's called intertext in internet. But that is kind of similar here, that when you move to a space like co-working space, it's quite possible that maybe the clients which are coming from for looking for something else also, like not exactly for your design, but there's a huge possibility that once you are sitting at a place where people or venture capitalists are coming who are willing to invest their money, if you are sitting there, it's quite possible, if you have a small area given to you, maybe they can just come to you and give you some work also. So those co-working spaces are adaptable spaces. They have to change again and again their positioning and all. So modular furniture is required there, and modular arrangements are required there. So that also comes under IA part, interior architecture. Then hostels is a new concept which is just started now. It is basically for travelers, and they are kind of spaces where travelers come and bunk beds are arranged, like in a way that even if you travel abroad to UK or some other countries, normally the cities are quite expensive to. If you go to regular hotels, they are very expensive for even a single night. So that time what they do is, they are like sharing spaces where bunk beds are arranged. So hostels are new kind of hostels where travelers come and they live at a space and they share their own experiences. And it's a kind of concept similar to Airbnb also, that I'm going to just discuss in after a few slides. And the last one is called project management. Project management is what, that sometimes you kind of like some interior designer has already taken up a project. So he has hired the project, but you can assist them and you can all give them all the services, because as an interior architect, you also know the nitty-gritties of the business. You know that at what stage you need a craftsman, at what stage you need somebody who is an electrician or a plumber or all those people. So that time you can help them in executing that task. That happens to be part of the project management. How AI is shaping it further, that's why I told you so much in detail about the AI in the beginning. That after AI, like what I showed in the last slide, these career prospects, the last three ones, co-working spaces, hostels, and project management, these three are part of something which has just mushroomed in the last 5 to 10 years. So, and somehow AI is also responsible for it. And AI, how is it helping right now? I don't know how many of you have used these apps, but today you will see that there are some AR related, augmented reality related apps where you just have to hold your tab or cell phone in front of an empty room or space, and whatever you want to buy, you can actually buy that furniture from the respective website and drag that furniture into that room. So you get a better picture of like what is the scale and proportion, will it look good at your space or not? So these are some things which are definitely part of the input of AI has given a lot of leap into it. Then there are softwares like Midjourney and DALI. Midjourney and DALI, they both have also kind of boosted this idea of creating mood boards also, and creating visualizations, quick visualizations if you want to give your client an idea of the things. That time you should be very much aware of what kind of proper words you need to search, because design is developing on the basis of words you are using. So that those words and the history of design, that is also taught in interior architecture. Then there is new things which are drafting tools are also getting linked with AI. Drafting means when you are creating these things by hand. For example, whatever, suppose if you have to design a room, that time you have to use drafting tools, which are the drawing tools, which works on the using the scale and measurements, proper measurements. Those tools are also getting linked with AI in a manner that the designs have become very precise and very quick to do with scales and all in the softwares. At the same time, they also give you the budget of the things. For example, you are working on a mall and you are designing like 4 or 5 floors in future. So in that time, you may not have the time to calculate how much budget is required for the number of doors you are using, the number of metal that you are using, or the wood that you are using, the materials that you are using. You may not give the exact picture of exact calculation of it. So just to expedite that process, to make it very quick, AI has also given some new softwares where you enter the value of just one door and they will give you like multiply the entire costing which is related to the project. So it's very helpful in giving the budget also of the entire project. So AI is definitely shaping it in that manner. Then there is something called communication design. Communication design is extension or advanced version of what used to be earlier called as graphic design. Graphic design used to be design which was supposed to be, which is something which we do by hand only, by drawings and creating the advertisements and posters and all those. But then came visual communication also in between. But even after the visual communication, that became limited to visuals only. The communication design is a little bit more advanced than that. In communication design, you are also given a bit of touch of videography also. So communication design is like the contemporary term for graphic design only. So don't be scared by like what is communication design. They are just the extension of it. And in communication design, basically what covers it, what is, if I have to tell you in the simple language, what does it cover? It covers all the 2D design that you see. For example, the branding of McD's burger, or wherever you see the branding is happening, wherever you see the 2D design is happening, two-dimensional design, whether in magazines, whether in Photoshop, whether in websites, whether in your phone, the UI UX designer, all these 2D designs, they are part of communication design. And the softwares that are covered in these courses are generally, they start from Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, Premiere Pro. Premiere Pro is basically for video editing. Photoshop and Illustrator, Photoshop is for, obviously for, I hope everybody knows it, photos, and Illustrator is for drawing purpose. Then there is After Effects, which is again used for video. Then there is Figma, photography and video basics are also taught into it. Video basics are taught, but like they are not up to a level that they are good for content creation, but they are not taught to a level that you would say that you can produce a movie, because that is a different course. But the basics of, yeah, if you want to produce a YouTube video, that are told in definitely in this. Then the last one was text to word photo manipulation. That was part of the DALI or your this Midjourney. They are also like part of it. Then the career prospects in communication designer are VR designer. VR is your virtual reality, and AR, VR, I think both of them. These days, EduTech 3D and Byju's, they are also adapting to it. They are also trying to design their classes in a way that it becomes more and more interactive for the learner. So in many e-commerce websites, this VR designing is happening. So, and UI UX designer is the second one. UI UX, I hope everybody's familiar. If not, that UI is user interface, UX is user experience, and UI designers are the people who actually create something which is like your, when you look at your phone, when you go through an app or a website, you are the user of that interface. So the flow of the entire website, how is it like if you go to Facebook or Instagram, how the flow is going, that all comes under UI designer, and UX is user experience. User experience becomes more interactive one also. So VR designer kind of is an extension of UX designing only, where you can experience the things also. Then social influencer is also one recent career which has just mushroomed up in last few years. Content creator, graphic design, web design, brand identity design. These are all parts of your communication design. Then creative director or art director, they are also part of the communication design. Anybody wants to ask about any question, if they are not understanding any term into this, just ask. The whole idea of this session is that you should be clear about your basic concepts. You should be knowing that where you are moving. So don't be shy, please. Again, and I'm repeating. Then we have something called fashion and textile. Anybody wants to ask any question till that before I start fashion and textile? Anything related to IA, I just move very quickly, and or maybe anything related to communication design. Okay. In fashion and textile also we have here. In fashion and textile, again, like from regular, the conventional way of designing through hand, that has been now shifted from CLO. This is what the image that you are seeing. That is like the most advanced way of learning now. Today, you must be seeing this thing in near future, very near future. All the websites like Myntra and all, they are going to have it in the near future, when you'll see that they are going to use the software. The idea is that sometimes you have different body proportions. Normally when you go through the to buy anything, say any apparel on Myntra or any other fashion related website, so the models that you see, they have their own basic body measurements. But CLO, this software, it has a possibility that you can add your body measurements, and according to maybe you are tall, slim, thick or small, thin, whatever, it can adapt, the cloth can adapt to it, how the drapery of the cloth will fall, how much fitting it will have on you, the size that they have mentioned, how it's going to appear on you. All those things that are not just good for users, but also for designers, for like sometimes they get a better clarity on what kind of material they use, so the kind of effect it will give. So it saves a lot on time and money also. And the kind of softwares that we cover in fashion, they are Adobe Illustrator, CorelDRAW, they are a must. We start from that. Then there is InDesign, then Photoshop. CAD is a software which is CAD and CLO. They are used for fabrication. Fabrication means when you have to execute something in the precise and measurements manner. Like whenever you have to do something using proper precise measurements, that is called fabrication. So whether here we are doing with fabric, whatever fabric we are using, the tailor mentions it there that if it has to be like a sleeve length has to be for 3 inches, or the cuff length has to be 3 inches. All those inputs are like designed in CAD, and then they can be all done by the machine. Then of course Microsoft Excel, and the last one, AR, is the augmented reality, how like the softwares are also adding to it. The career prospects for a fashion designer today, in here in Rishod University, we are focusing a bit more on the apparel part, and we do touch upon leather also, but basically we are much more focused on the apparel design part. In fashion designing, there are apparel means your basic clothing, whatever clothing that you see, all those comes under apparel. Then broadly these categories, the career categories, they are divided into trading, manufacturing and fabricating. Merchandiser is also a job which is just very much important, or maybe sometimes even important than Like I've written it on the second number, but it can be sometimes on the first number. Merchandiser is a person who actually takes up the project. He brings the project, and then it is a fashion designer sometimes whose responsibility is there to execute that, to like kind of provide his design. Then merchandiser is kind of supervisor who looks the entire process also, how is it producing. Then once a sample is produced by the fashion designer, he gives it to merchandiser. Merchandiser goes to the main client. He takes up the order, the bulk order, and then it comes to like the production of it. So that's a main job of the like entire fashion industry, I think, after fashion designer. And fashion designer can be both individual also and for export house also. Then there is print designer. Print means kapdon pe, like if you, when you see that what kind of prints are there. So all those prints are understood first into digital softwares. Their patterns are prepared into digital software first. Their spacing, their detailing, their lining, the value of the traditional craft. All these are, you know, the motives from them, I mean. All these are taken into consideration while creating any print design thing, and then they are like created. Then there is pattern master. Pattern master is somebody who has a very good understanding of stitching, like how they create the different kinds of pleats in a cloth. Pleats mean the folds, kind of things that you see in the in the most well designed clothes. They have a different kind of pleats. So all these things are the folds and pleats are done by a pattern master. Then textile weave designer, embroidery designer is there. These are quite well understood. Home furnishing is also there as part of the fashion design, because these days maximum fashion designers are also working with interior designers, because a lot of part of what kind of fabric you are going to use at a home or in a corporate, or maybe sometimes the dresses of the people who are the staff, means working staff in a corporate, these are all designed by fashion designers only. Accessory designer, footwear or quality controller also. Accessory designer, I hope you got it. Accessory means which are part of extensions of not the foot clothing, but kind of like maybe footwear also, yeah, it comes into it. Then there is something like bracelets and all those things. These are all part of fashion design and comes under accessory designer. The last is quality controller. Quality controller means the kind of fabric, the kind of thread, the kind of the materials that you are using. Each and everything, it is supposed to be something which decides the ultimate costing and value of it. So first it has to go through quality controller. So the idea of identifying the best quality of the things that are also done by fashion designers, and that's also relatively very celebrated career in that. So product design is also something which we practice here in the Rishud University. And basically, I just go through the basics of it, what are the things included into it. The softwares that we cover are basically divided into two aspects. One is modeling and one is rendering. Modeling means how you create the prototype. Like for example, if you have to create maybe a shoe, that as you can see in this image, or maybe a tile for a house or something. These all prototypes or the samples are created first. And earlier they used to create it by hand. That is I have written here rapid prototyping, which is also now revolutionized by 3D printing and laser cut and CNCs. So these all are done here. I don't know how many of you are like familiar with these terms. 3D printing requires 3D printer. I hope you must have seen it till now. Like this is the shoe that you see here. This is all 3D printed. Yeah, nobody has made it from hand. Earlier we used to do it in hand modeling techniques also. But definitely hand modeling techniques are also told into it. Like the very first year, the foundation year, we never let anybody to touch power tools or the softwares. The basic softwares are introduced, Illustrator and Photoshop, but not like 3D softwares. They starts in the specialization. And modeling softwares are Rhino, 3ds Max, SolidWorks. Then Keyshot is for rendering. Rendering is giving it the texture and feel of whatever you have created. So they are like something which is used for giving the finishing touch to what you have modeled. And Procreate it is basically used for sketching, advanced sketching. So these are all like the process of how product designing happens. Laser cut, I hope you have heard about like what is laser cut. Like through a laser, they just cut the flat materials available in the market, like plywood, acrylic sheet, plexiglass. MDF, all these things are cut using laser cuts. And CNC machine is something which is engineering students must be, or lathe machine. I don't know how many of you have seen it, but it is something which is not recent. It is like around 30-40 years ago. It came and it is still continuing today. CNC is like basically for metal, and you sculpt the things into it. It's like something which keeps on rotating, and it shapes the metal into different shapes. Like if you see something like these days in the railing, if you see the decorative part of the railings, you must have seen those steel balls. All those steel balls for holding or the decorative parts, they are custom through CNC machines only. So they are also like told about these things. And normally all these things, they are interrelated in a way that today, if you have to do 3D printing or do CNC printing, the files are made in Rhino and 3ds Max. Then career prospects in product designer, obviously, like personal independent also, and maybe for definitely for like in the corporate sector also, there is a huge requirement of product designer. Then assembly is when industrial design happens on a very large scale. Like industrial design is little different from product design. It is much more mathematical in nature, and but not that, don't be scared by listening the mathematic word. It's not that bad also. Like it's much more logical in approach rather than the regular product design. So industrial design means like piping design. If you see the measurements of pipes, the inner diameter, outer diameter, all those things, they comes under industrial design. Robotics is something which is part of product design now. And then there's social design problems. Sometimes you have to work with NGO and customize something, for example, for disabled people, handicapped people, or other different kinds of, like as per the requirement, you have to design it. But that time you, product designers, whenever they have to create something so customized, they have to like work with the NGOs if that problem persists in the different level stratas of the society. Then comes your startups, something like toy making or furniture or gifting. There are like few examples of it. I think startups could be 15, 20, how many examples I can give? I think they are like, they could be anything. So wherever you requires 3D fabrication, 3D sculpting, or 3D, in 3D, if you have to create something, in real, you have to create something like a 3D object. That time product designers is something which is the knowledge of product designing, that is very important. Then after these specializations, like again, I'm just moving to just concluding part. But before than that, any questions are now, like in the specializations, anybody wants to ask something? Okay, then last one, I think again, I'm touching upon what do you think the 21st century design looks like? Okay, if you remember in the beginning, I just mentioned about this, that it's very important to understand what times we are living in. So your design sense should always kind of reflect the times that we are living in. Like, for example, if I ask you what is the characteristic of this age, can anybody just tell it very quickly, which is like hallmark of this age, which something which was not seen earlier? Some particular characteristic which defines this age that we are living in. Anybody wants to like say what is the one single thing which is like has become the identity of the times that we are living in? Okay, I'll just speed it up. I would say that it's internet. Internet is something which has just started after 1990s, and today I think it has boosted or changed the entire nature of everything. So you cannot change that. And that's why if I ask you what 21st century design looks like, and we started with the Steve Jobs example of human-centric design. So the first criteria is the design has to be more human-centric or the user-centric. Like it doesn't need to be like product banana to kuch bhi product bana do. It's not like that. You have to be very much conscious of what is the problem at the user's end, how it will affect the user, main user. Then more inclusive and collaborative in nature. collaboration is something which has become the main identity of these times, because it is the practicality of life that no designer, even if you are a fashion designer, if you are a product designer, if you are a communication designer or ceramic artist, you do not have to work alone. Ultimately, you have to work with people. So it's very important to work on your intrapersonal and interpersonal skills also, so that you have the ability to work with people. Then the work has become more research oriented. These days, it's very, very important, as I told you, for the sustainable, producing the sustainable solutions to the, giving a sustainable solution to the problem. It's very important to understand that whatever materials you are using, where those materials are coming, how they are going to be discarded once your life is over. So that's why it requires lots and lots of research, more efficient with technology and AI systems, more sustainable. Then if we go on the next one, what do we mean by human-centered design? Human-centered design means what people desire. On the most ground roots, what do you think people they wish for? That is, then what is technically and organizationally feasible? Like it should not be something like a dream come true or a utopian idea which is practically not possible. It has to be something which is practically, people can afford it, you can also produce it. So it has to be technically and organizationally feasible. Financially also it should be viable. And these are the few examples which I would say are kind of, they have become like kind of hallmark of today's age, which has, like, businesses like these have never been seen earlier, say 50 years ago or 40 or 30 years ago. You have not seen that. But Oyo rooms or these kind of Airbnb, if I say, these are something concepts which have just come up. See, what smart thing Oyo rooms have done is, earlier if somebody has to, I just give a very quick example. Like suppose if you have been to mountains or any other place, you must have gone through this field that maybe you are going through the mountains and maybe you sometimes feel like you wish that there should be a home maybe on the mountain next to you, and you want to just stay there for a while. Or if you see a hotel in the green mountain, on the green mountain, you want to just go and stay there. But or maybe you want to build your own home. So anybody who used to earlier build the home there, they are exploiting the resources also. They are kind of stepping into the nature also. Or like if there is already a hotel there, then suppose there is a huge possibility that they may not get the room also. And these many things are there. What Oyo Rooms did was that they did the branding part very well, and they worked on the hygienic parts. Whenever you look out for Oyo Rooms, they have not created anything specially for themselves. What they have done is that already existing hotels are there. You must have known the process that whatever existing hotels are there, 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, Oyo buys the rooms from them for an entire year. And then it sells to the users, like anybody who is interested into getting it on cheaper rates. Because it's good for the hotel also, that they have to give the lump sum amount. They get a lump sum amount from Oyo. Oyo also gets it, so sells it on a cheaper rate because they are going to book it on a relatively cheaper rate than the hotel itself. And then they are also going to give you some hygienic essential things which are like part of your toiletries also. And then they give you as a part of branding, so that it becomes a bit more hygienic and a clean experience for the person who is going to live. So see how much you are saving on money, how much you are saving on energy, how much you are saving on the resources. That becomes a kind of a really smart work to do. That's why they are kind of, this Oyo Rooms wala concept has become a kind of a hallmark of this age, because they are a classic example of what an innovation is called. Same goes for Airbnb. Airbnb is a recent concept which has been very famous abroad. For India, maybe it has becoming started to become famous. Anybody would like to speak? They have experienced Airbnb? None of you have ever been familiar with this term Airbnb. Okay, that's quite surprising. Airbnb is actually an app or a website also, you can say. What they do is that if you are traveling abroad, or if you are traveling to a place, normally abroad it's quite famous. And what they do is that normally hotels are very much expensive for a regular user. So Airbnb, it gives an opportunity for the locals, like the owners of local people who are living there, owners of the house, means owners of local houses there. So they give you room for a single night or maybe 2-3 nights or as such. Like they give you the room on rent for maybe a week max, and they charge like on very cheaper rates as compared to hotels. So what you get to actually do is that, and B&B means bread and breakfast. So bread and breakfast means that bed and breakfast, sorry. Bed and breakfast means that obviously bed means like you have to go, you get a place to stay. Breakfast means that you also get a kind of a complimentary breakfast in the morning. So they give you access to their kitchen. You get an opportunity to live with the people of like the family members also. You can live with them, and the beauty is that you get to experience the new culture that has become. That's why it has become so famous. And how do they do about the security issues? For example, like whether you can think that whether the person is reliable or not. So for that, they have given reviews on Facebook and their own apps. And they have taken all those people when you have to register on Airbnb as a owner of the house. When you register on it, you have to give all the necessary details of you from your basic identity details to in case if whatever you are doing is legal or not. So it's very safe on the user's end, and it's very cheap also on the user's end. At the same time, the ones who are providing the facility, they also get to earn from it. So it's like win and win situation for everybody. That's why this is also an example of very innovative works of this time. Zomato also the same concept, Swiggy also the same concept. They have not opened the hotels. They have just created an app which is kind of just bringing out the stuff to your doors. So it's not like Zomato is coming from only one restaurant. You must have, everybody has used it. So, but the smartest thing that they have done is that they have not made their own restaurants. They have not spent any time on making their own restaurants. So that also kind of, same goes for the concept of Ola and Uber calls. So if you just look at all of them, even the autos, they have not bought the cars as much. Like they do have, but not as much as like they are. What they have done is they have just contacted the people who are interested in it, converting into the private cabs, and that's how. Like again, it's a very classic example of innovation. It saves basically all these things. It saves lots of resources. So coming to the conclusion, I think what you should be very much careful about is that suppose in case like at university, at issued university also, if you are going to take the admission here, we offer you a program where you have the liberty to choose from visual art also and BDES also. The foundation, it is common for all of them. So you have to have the liberty to even switch between the specialization. Like if you say take admission in BDES IA program, but I always recommend that when you come here, come with an open mind. It like what it means is very few kids are very clear about that they want to do graphic design only, or they want to do game design only, or they want to do any XYZ design that only. But most of them are kind of, they have a vision towards it, but they are not very sure of it. So I won't ever tell you that, okay, whatever your friend is taking, you also opted. No, the whole idea of the foundation here is we are giving you introduction of all the specializations in the respective courses of the entire program of that 1 year. And by the end of the year, you should be able to make a decision looking at what kind of work you have produced. And on the basis of that, you can take a decision that whether you want BVA, whether you want BDES, in BDES, what kind of specialization you want, or in BVA, what kind of specialization you want. So what you should be focusing right from the beginning is just whenever you are in a creative course, like in BDES or BVA, do not focus mainly on, I won't say that means that not having good scores. Of course, good scores is very good for getting a scholarship for the masters. But for bachelors, it's very important to understand that the main thing that you should be focusing on is your skills. You have to be very skillful on vocational part. Vocational means something which requires training. For example, good at wood carving, or maybe good at sketching, or maybe good at something which requires skill, hand skills. Then there is something you should be good at: communication strategies, how you are telling your idea, how you are selling your idea. That's very important. Many students are here who take the admission. They are very good at skill also, but sometimes they do not know how to present their work. So that also we are we have kind of incorporated the presentation part into every subject. So that is like by default, right from the beginning, they also work on the presentation part. And the last is leadership development. Leadership development means these days it's very important. The second point also is related to the same thing, that these days it's very important that whenever, whatever environment you work in, you need to understand that you do not have to work it alone. You cannot win any battle alone. You have to work with people. You have to understand that even if you have to, if you're working as an independent designer, you have to work with carpenters, maybe fabricators, maybe welders, maybe sculptors, painters, artists. You have to work with a lot of people. You have to work with, you have to listen to the client also. So that time it's very important to understand that you should be able to collaborate with people. It is not about something that creative work comes out from an individual zeal. So that time you need to encourage everybody that you are working with, that we are creating, we are willing to, it has to be a constructive environment where you are like, if you go to any other field, I would say that everybody is like kind of, there's a healthy competition also, and sometimes there is a bad competition also. In design also, that there is that competition, but at the same time, people are very smart to understand that ultimately they have to work with people, not against people. So it's very important to understand that focus on collaboration and your basic skills. Focus on the skills that you want to develop. It could be software skills also, it could be hand skills also. And by the end of it, once your skills are fixed, for example, I'm a sculptor. I've done my master's and bachelor's in specializing in sculptures, but I'm teaching in design college from last 7 years because my skills are required here as a creative person. My skills could be required for set designing. My skills could be required for product designing, many of them. So once you know that what your skills are, just kind of keep on polishing them throughout your entire life. If you feel that you are enjoying them, just keep on polishing them, because learning never ends. So this was kind of a session which was, it has become a little longer session, but I would really encourage you to ask any question if you any kind of confusions if you have. Any questions, any confusions anybody wants to ask? No questions, everybody's confusions are clear. I hope that most of you are genuinely interested in design and visual arts, I guess. Okay, then I think Priyanka, if like they're fine with it, I think we can close the session.
Yes, guys, don't you have any questions? मुझे भी नहीं लगता कि कुछ questions हैं students के.
It's quite an elaborate session, I knew, but I think it was important to cover all of them, so I just, yeah.
Yes, so I have already shared all the details, my contact details and the website address. Please go to the website, and any question, any doubt comes up in your mind, you can definitely reach us on whatever number I have shared with you. Okay, all the very best, everyone.
Okay, all the best.
Yeah, bye, take care.